Welcome to Pioneer Mindset, a place where we challenge our mindset and address the discomfort in both business and life by finding clarity resulting in bold conviction. I'm your host, Garrett Ruskamp, fifth generation farmer, husband, and father from rural Nebraska. Whether you're navigating frustration from past decisions or worry about the uncertainty you face today in your business, we're going to learn from our struggles and take on new challenges with a resilient mindset. Join me as I share my journey of struggles I've faced in agriculture as a farmer and family man. I'm ready to dive into honest conversations to tackle the mindsets surrounding key issues that rural ag business owners face that will ultimately help you gain control, leading to a profitable and sustainable business. Let's adapt to Pioneer Mindset and get to it. Welcome back, everyone, to this week's episode of Pioneer Mindset. So excited to be talking here today. And by the way, congratulations. We've made it to the end of 2025. What an accomplishment that is. Another year under our books. For most of us, we're just trying to wonder, how did we actually get through 2025? Maybe it was a struggle for you. Maybe it was a really easy year. Maybe it was a fun year. Maybe it was challenging. So much different things that happened. If we look back on the year and actually give ourselves the chance to look back as to how much we've actually been through, the good, bad, and the ugly, right? And so with today's episode, I want to actually share some perspective, right? And so we're going to be talking about 2026 and as we go into next year and what that actually looks like. So I want to share some perspective. As we head into 2026, potentially looking at one of the most challenging years that we have to face. Now, for most of row crop operations, we could be looking at our generation's version of the 1980s. Going into 2026, maybe we've already had a couple bad years. Maybe this is going to be the year that we're just not really sure if we're going to make it through. So we've got some challenging times coming ahead. So I'm going to kind of present to you a couple different options here. And so what if I told you that this next year in 2026, you're going to be facing some really high input prices, maybe not the highest ever, but maybe input prices that get you so concerned that you're mind boggled how you can even make it work. Low commodity prices, to the point where you're holding your feet, dragging your feet on pricing any grain because you're below your break even. You just don't know how that you're even going to get close to that break even. The cost of production is just overwhelming. And maybe you're going to be faced with some breakdowns that come your way. Next year's going to be, maybe you got an engine that goes down, or maybe you got a combine that has a major repair that needs to be done, or you just got all these breakdowns. There's water line that goes out, a well that goes out, just something adds up. All these things that kind of keep hitting you and punching you in the face. Maybe you've got some weather issues. Maybe it's going to be too wet. You can't get the crop planted. And all of a sudden it's going to turn dry in the summertime when you need the rain, when you need the crop needs the rain, and you're not going to get it. You're going to watch that cloud go by to somebody else's farm and not yours. Maybe the I-states are going to get the rain and you're not. So the prices are going to be affected differently, and you're just not going to get it on your farm. Maybe you're not going to have the crop there that you need. Maybe we're going to have some family issues. Maybe somebody in your family is going to be sick. Maybe you're going to have a loss. Maybe you're just going to have some struggles with your spouse or something like that as we go into next year. Maybe you're trying to grind so much to get yourself out of this hole and trying to continue to maintain the lifestyle that you've built, that you're going to be gone a lot and it's going to put a stress on your relationship. Maybe you're going to be facing some high debt load. Maybe you've carried over some losses from last year. Maybe you're trying to figure out how you can refinance and trying to keep it on, doing what you love and doing what you enjoy. You're going to be faced with all these challenges, uncomfortable conversations that you're going to have. Maybe it's with family, maybe it's with banker, maybe it's the lawyer, the attorney, maybe it's with your priest. Maybe it's with somebody that you're facing some really difficult situations right now and you don't know if it's even worth it. Maybe you're just going to be faced with the unfairness of life, the unfairness of the situations. What if I told you all this right now? What starts to go through your head? Are you getting down into a deep pit? Maybe down into back you into a closet that's dark, there's no light, and you're in a cellar maybe, and you just feel like there's no way to get out. Maybe that's what you felt like the last couple of years, and we continue to face these challenges head on. But, it's hard to do that. You're trying to be the man that your family needs to be. You're trying to be the man that you want to be. But as we keep facing these challenges, as you keep stepping into the ring of life, every year is a new round and you keep getting punched in the face and you're trying to win, but you don't even know how it's possible. Everything you try to do, you try your best and you just keep getting knocked down. So what starts going through your head? Maybe fear. That's a pretty obvious one here, right? As we talk about all these challenges, fear, maybe the fear of failure, this fear of actually working your ass off another year for nothing to gain. There's just nothing to show for it. like you've let your family down again, like you're the fourth or fifth generation and you're trying not to lose it all, and you've worked your ass off, you've busted it, blood, sweat, and tears day in and day out. Maybe that's what's going through your mind. Maybe the fear that you might lose it all. Not only the operation, maybe lose your family in the way because you don't know what else to do. Fear that you might ask yourself, is this even worth it? And so as I talk about all this, I'd imagine if you're like myself, you've faced these challenges in the past, you've been through your own set of challenges where you've gotten yourself down into that cellar, down into that pit that you don't feel like you can ever get out of. And it's so dark. There's just no light down there. It's cold. It's lonely. There's nobody else with you. Doesn't matter if your neighbor's in the same situation. You are by yourself. And so as I bring this up, what comes to mind for you? What do you feel like you're going to do now as I've put you down in this pit, put myself down in that pit before? What are you going to do? What actions come up for you? Do you feel like you're just going to stay there? Maybe pause in the moment. Just don't feel like you can even move because you're stuck and you don't even know what the fuck to do. Excuse my language, by the way. Do you feel like you don't even know where to go? You don't even know how to move forward. Even if there's other opportunities out there that present themselves, you just don't even know if you can capture them. Even if somebody is there to help you, you got a friend that's going to pull their hand down and help you out. You just don't even know how to move forward just because you're so afraid of what the future holds. So I took you through that exercise for a reason. And I want to pause on the fear side of things, right? I want to pause on that and kind of shift this a little bit because I told you I was going to give you some perspectives. And so now it's time to flip this. I presented that to you. Obviously, that was a not very fun situation to be in. And I hope that your mindset went exactly where I wanted it to go, down into that pit. Because now we're going to flip this, okay? We're no longer going to be talking about fear. We're going to be talking about the positive side of things. So what if I told you here in 2026, talking about the same year that we just talked about, by the way, going from 25 to 26, like we're going to be doing as you listen to this episode, might be the year that you actually grow the most. Maybe it's the year that farmer down the road comes and talks to you about renting his land. Maybe it's the year that you actually grow in your mindset, in your strengths and your skills and your opportunities. Sure, there's going to be a challenge that you come your way, but you're looking forward to them because you've been there. And you've made it thus far. You've survived 25, right? You've made it through these last 5 years that maybe are a lot challenging. Maybe you've faced things you never thought you have. And looking back, you say to yourself, I have survived. I am here. I'm resilient because I've made it thus far. I've gotten up out of bed every day and I've continued to conquer every challenge that comes my way. Even though it doesn't feel like it, you are here. You've made it thus far, like I've just said. Right. So you're still in the business. You're still farming, hopefully. Right. And we've done it. We've done the things. We've been through the challenges and made our way through that. So maybe there's some opportunities that come your way. Maybe you get a chance to expand your business. Maybe we got some really good market prices that come our way. Maybe we got really good weather opportunities and we raise a really good crop and we take ourselves out of some of this debt. Maybe we got so much opportunity. Maybe even on the family side of things, maybe you're going to even have another kid. Maybe you're going to be there to support your kids that you already have in whatever challenges that they're going through. Maybe you're going to be there to help coach them, their t-ball team, their baseball team, their basketball team. Maybe you're going to be there to take your wife on a vacation. Maybe you're going to be around more for bedtimes and during planting season and harvest. Maybe you're going to shut down on that Sunday and actually be around for your kids so they want to be around you. And so that way you can continue to carry on the legacy that you've built thus far. Maybe you're going to make the right moves. You're going to take on the actions that you need so that way you can pull yourself out of this pit that you've been in. Maybe you're going to actually do all of these things and more. You just can't see it yet. The opportunity awaits those who are willing to chase it. And you're willing to chase it. You are willing to get after it and do what it takes to chase that opportunity. So now I want to pause on this. How does this make you feel? Okay, now are you enlightened? Do you have this fire in you that I just want to shut off this episode and go do the things that I need to do? What's going through your head ultimately? What at the end of the day, which experience was more, I don't want to say fun, but enlightening for you? Which experience do you feel like actually helps you move and take the action that you need, right? Was it going through the pit? Was it showing all the things that could happen and that will happen if you don't take action? Or was it actually the flip side and showing all the things that you could have that are right there in front of you if you open that door and you actually step through it and take that action and move in the right direction. Which one of those was most motivating for you? It's going to be different for all of us, by the way. But me personally, I've been in that situation where I've ran that negative loop in my head and gotten myself into that pit and just don't feel like I can do anything. And that really, it can lead to some action, by the way. It can lead to some action out of fear, but usually it leads to inaction. It leads us to just not do anything versus chasing that dream that we're after, chasing that optimism, chasing that opportunity, chasing that mindset that we can have it all. We can go chase that opportunity. That for me is usually the one that requires me to get my ass off, get off my ass rather, and just go take the action that's required. Now, you can argue that one of those is maybe a little bit, false hope, or maybe it's being a little bit too oblivious, right? But at the end of the day, sometimes it's okay to be oblivious because we wouldn't take the action that we had if we'd known all the challenges that were going to be on our way. I was thinking about this head on, and as we've started Pioneer Farmer almost 2 years ago now, there's been a lot of challenges that came our way. And when we went ahead and started this, how it always goes, right? You're chasing that dream, you're chasing that thing that you want, chasing something, right? Kind of going towards that goal. And if we knew all the challenges that we're going to face, we probably would not have done it, if I'm going to be honest. And I think we can all agree that we've been there. If we tried anything new or gone down a new path or gone down a new adventure or new avenue, if we knew all of the challenges that we'd face, all the things that would punch us in the face, all the roadblocks, everything that would make us trip and fall, scuff up our knees, all those things, we probably would not go down that path, right? And so it's all about trying to figure out which is going to be the one that's going to help you take action, okay? And so this really kind of comes down to just using fear as a motivator and whether that works for you or not. So to share a little bit of a story here, we actually just got back from a conference and we were in a room full of people and producers and farmers and ranchers. Really good event, by the way. But one of the things that they tried to use as a motivator, just kind of the big overarching thing that I saw was they just kind of used fear as a motivator. Like, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. And once again, fear as a motivator can be positive, it can be negative. It all just depends on your mindset. But for me, as I kind of left that room, I'm like, I just don't know about this. Using fear as a motivator, I just don't think that's ultimately going to get me personally, anyways, where I want to go. And so this is all kind of about, when we take action because we're either running from something or running towards something, right? And so, and you kind of think of this as a set of arrows, if you're visually kind of trying to picture this, you either are running towards your desired outcome or maybe running away from the undesired outcome. Right? So that's just what we talked about before. So as we talk about the fear as a motivator, usually you're running away from that undesired outcome. Okay, so in that room, that specifically kind of towards the end of the day, and this is what really hit home, was they were talking about a lot of succession planning, right? And estate planning and getting all that stuff set up. And by the way, this has been on our to-do list for a long time now, and it's kind of been a work in progress, but you know how it goes. There's just plenty of other things to do. And I could give you a list of valid excuses, by the way, valid excuses as to why we haven't done it. But anyways, when we try to use fear as a motivator to go in the right direction, we think of, what happens if we don't get this set up? Okay, so if we don't have a proper estate plan set up in place for somebody to get our kids, or if we don't have a proper estate plan in place to protect our assets, if you're maybe in the position to where you don't have a proper estate plan in place or succession plan to work it out so that way your kids get along at Christmas and Easter and can still pass on the farm and still have a viable farm. What happens if the farm gets sold because we don't have everything in place, or because maybe we divided it equally and the on-farm heir has to buy out the others and he can't afford that, and so it just gets sold? What happens if our legacy does not carry on? Now, that's using fear as kind of a motivator, and as in, I'm going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to take action because I don't want that result. That is a possibility if that works for you. But for us, in the long run, sometimes fear causes inaction. It's all about, what do I need to do to take action? If you don't do this, what's going to happen? Or if you take action now, here's the results that you're going to get. We want you at the end of the day is to make sure that you're actually willing to do what it takes to take action. But sometimes as we cast on this fear, we get ourselves down into that pit like I just took you into before, when we're facing all of these challenges head on, and we start to ask ourselves, is this worth it? Why are we doing all this? And if we don't have a good answer for that, then it could be pretty easy to figure out maybe this isn't worth it. Maybe that's the answer that comes up for us. We start to ask ourselves, is this even worth it? And then once again, those questions usually do not lead to positive action. As we take ourselves through that, as we use fear as a motivator, sometimes that leads you down into that pit, down into that cellar where you don't want to be, and it's dark, cold, and lonely. And we have nowhere to go because we don't know where to go. And you just don't do anything. And life continues to move on. Yeah, maybe you're still here. Maybe you're still listening to this in 2025, but maybe it hasn't been easy. And maybe you just been kind of just trying to get by. You haven't really actually done anything. You're just kind of here another day, another year. All of a sudden, 10 years goes by, a decade goes by, a generation goes by, and nothing has really changed. Or we can shift this. And this is where I'm ultimately trying to go to, is not using fear as a motivator. We're trying to have a positive outlook on things and being optimistic. All right. And once again, big difference between being optimistic and oblivious. And I've talked about that in the past. We need to make sure that we know the difference. We are not hiding from the truth. We're not hiding from all of the challenges that you're currently going to face in 2026. I know all of those, and you know those just as well. We don't need to keep hammering home on those. Okay. We know all those challenges. It's important to know those and be an informed business owner and farmer and rancher. Okay. We know that. But let's have a positive outlook on this. Do whatever it takes so that way you can finally take action. Okay. It's all about taking action. We've talked about this before. So what's going to really be the motivator for you to take action is that to really kind of paint that picture as to where you want to go. Maybe use that to kind of ultimately set up your goals that you're trying to accomplish, trying to set up that why. So that way you have something to fall back onto when you get yourself back into that pit, like it's going to happen, by the way. Even if you're a positive person, even if you're optimistic, it's going to happen that the challenges are going to come. The punches are going to hit you in the face. It's going to hurt. You're going to start bleeding at some point in 2026, right? And we're going to get ourselves in that pit, but we need to have a way to pull ourselves back out. We need to have a way to keep us from just sitting down there and not taking action. And this is to where we need to have a way to make sure that we know, okay, what's our why? Why are we doing this? Okay. And what are we going to do to help us get out of that pit once we get into it? So that way we can continue to take action day in and day out, year in and year out, generation into next generation, to make sure we can continue to move where we want to go and move our farm in the right direction. Okay. So that's ultimately what this episode is about, trying to figure out how we can take action. And usually, in my opinion, fear is a short-term motivator, but it's not the long-term thing that is going to lead us to success and lead us to taking action day in and day out. We need to have something that we're shooting for. Okay. Maybe that's, like I said, setting up a good vision. Maybe it's goals that you have, maybe establishing your why for your farm, for yourself even. So that way we can take action. Okay. And so kind of furthermore, as we continue to move on here, because I think this is really important, but we can dive back into this, a couple of things that I want to add here. Is I believe in this so much, by the way, that I'm willing not to sell the farm. Okay. Everything that I talk about here, everything that I help my clients deal with within Pioneer Farmer, as I try to implement different things within our farm and try to lead with integrity, try to do the best that I can, I am willing not to sell the farm. Okay. I'm willing to make so many other adjustments, but I believe in the lifestyle that we're trying to build and everything we're trying to accomplish so much that I'm not willing to sell the farm, because I'm going to go back to what we just mentioned before. Go back to that pit that I just talked about. Put the jacket on if you have to. Go back into that cold cellar. And I'm going to take you back down there one more time so I can drive home this message. Because as we face everything we have thus far, maybe on your farm this last year you had some losses. Maybe crop yields were not where they wanted to be. Maybe you did a terrible job marketing and you lost your ass there. Maybe you paid a bunch of interest in the bank because you expanded years ago and you don't have now you got debt load is racking up and you just don't know what to do about that. Maybe you got some family issues to where you got people that are trying to take their piece of the puzzle and their piece of the pie and you don't know how to navigate that. Maybe you don't get along with your wife. Maybe she's not on board with everything you're trying to do. Your spouse, maybe your kids, you haven't been around them enough to have a great relationship with them. Okay. So I'm not going to dive too far into that, but taking yourself back into that pit, back into asking yourself, is this even worth it? Why are we doing this? Once you ask yourself those questions, it's pretty easy to think about selling this whole shit show off and just not dealing with it. It's pretty easy to think about, why is this even worth it? Why am I trying to farm? Why am I trying to bust my ass to do this day in and day out? It's pretty easy to get to that point. Okay. But here's the thing. Is that ultimately where you want to go? And that's why I'm bringing this point up, is I believe so much in what I'm trying to do to help you so that we're not necessarily using fear as a motivator. So we're trying to be positive, trying to work towards your goals. I believe in that so much that I am not willing to sell a farm because I've been in that pit. I've been into that cellar where you're at right now, or maybe you're trying to work yourself out of that, or maybe you're going to be there at some point in 2026. I don't know. But either way, I've been there, I've done that, and I believe so much in what we're trying to do. I believe so much in the lifestyle that we're trying to build and maintain this legacy that we've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to carry on, that I am not willing to sell the farm. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to keep that from happening. Okay. And so that's why I want to really bring that up and harp on that one last time. So as we kind of shift this to a couple more things here that I want to add to this within the same conference that we were talking about, right? Within this group of farmers and ranchers, similar to ourselves, all different walks of life, all different operations, right? But all of us, to some extent, would say that we are farmers or ranchers. And in fact, in this room, they had asked this very question, and they had asked who here identifies or really thinks of themselves as a farmer or rancher. And every single one of us raised our hands, right? Because that's why we're in that room. And this is where they tried to argue that you are not a farmer or rancher. You are a business owner and an entrepreneur. Okay, so you take a step back and you're like, okay, like I'm still a farmer. You know what I mean? Like that's what we identify with. So you're not a farmer or a rancher. You're a business owner or an entrepreneur. That's what they're trying to say. That's what they're trying to argue. That's what they're trying to really hit home. And I would disagree. Because you see, I am a farmer, and this is where the difference comes in. I am a farmer who has the mindset of a business owner. This is where the difference is. And I know it might seem really minor here, but at the end of the day, we are farmers and ranchers. That's what we identify with. That's what I identify with. But I think it's important for us to have the mindset of a business owner or an entrepreneur so that way we can make the best business decisions possible. But be honest with me here. If you thought of yourself first as a business owner or an entrepreneur, and I take you back to all the challenges that you've faced thus far and all the challenges that you're going to face in 2026, without a doubt, you're going to face a lot of those, especially as a lot of row crop farmers out there do not know how they're going to make it by this next year. You're going to face all those challenges. And if you are just an entrepreneur or just a business owner, can you not tell me that you're just going to sell it out and that you would not continue to do what you do? Right. It'd be so easy to be like, oh man, these margins look terrible. There's no chance to make my break even, no chance to recoup my cost of production. I'm going to take it in the shorts. I'm probably going to have a loss this year. With all this being said, would you not just sell it out? Now, I'm not saying that we got to continue to operate here at a loss or continue to, there's things that we can do. But if you are a farmer or a rancher, you have that resiliency mindset bred into you that you're going to do whatever it takes to continue to have that lifestyle, continue to farm, continue to ranch, so that way we can continue to do what we love and enjoy. In order to do that, this is to where we need to have the mindset of a business owner. It does not mean you have to be solely identified as a business owner or entrepreneur here. So there's a lot of things as we kind of think about all these messages I've said so far. Think about using fear as a motivator, right? Thinking about how we identify as a farmer or rancher. And this is to where we talk about we need to have the mindset of a business owner. And this is exactly why we call this pioneer mindset. We got to have the mindset of those that are willing to do things differently. And I didn't mean sell off the farm, by the way. Not saying that's what we should or shouldn't do, but we need to first acknowledge that if we identify as a farmer or rancher, that's who we are. After all, I was drinking out of a mug the other day, and I do not drink coffee. I was drinking some hot chocolate with the boys, and the only coffee mug that I have is the one that says, God looked down on his planned paradise on the 8th day and said, I need a farmer. And I feel like we've all remembered that message, that the Super Bowl commercial that we've all heard so many times, and I looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a farmer. And most of us, if you're a farmer, if you're a rancher, we can identify with that. We resonate with that. That hits home for us, right? So this is exactly why I'm trying to just drive this home so much. And that we are farmers and ranchers. This is why it's called Pioneer Farmer, Pioneer Mindset. But we need to adapt that mindset as a business owner so we can do the best that we can to take action where we need to be, to go towards those goals, to go in the right direction, right? To take action, to ultimately get to where we want to go. So this is what I'm trying to hit home here on this week's episode as we end out 2025 and as we start to focus on 2026. This is the things that I'm trying to drive home as I'm talking to you, talking to my clients, as we really focus on 2026. Another year, another set of challenges is going to be coming your way. What are you going to do to take those on with a resiliency mindset to make sure that you are willing to actually take action in the face of fear and to actually get to where you want to go? Folks, I do hope this is helpful. I do hope there's some things that you can resonate with this. And be sure to like this episode, leave me a review, leave me a comment, leave something that lets me know that this hit home for you, that you found value in this. And I do hope you found value in this. And I hope that you found value in all of our episodes thus far in 2025 and everything that we've tried to do for you as the listener. That's what we're here for, to provide value to you as the listener and to provide value to other farmers and ranchers, because we are farmers and ranchers ourselves. So that's all I got for this week's episode, and we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for tagging along with me today as we sharpened our mindsets. If you've gained insight from today's episode, be sure to take a screenshot to share or send this episode to somebody who might also find value in it. For more, follow me on Instagram @GarrettRuskamp or on Facebook, and join me next time for more conviction through clarity.